The Great Hall of the Galactic Council had never seen such chaos. Alien representatives from dozens of worlds shouted at each other in their native languages. Their voices echoed off the crystal walls while emergency lights flashed red across the massive chamber. Ambassador Taman slammed all four of his arms on the speaking platform. The loud bang made everyone stop talking for a moment. His blue skin had turned dark purple with anger, and his large eyes bulged as he looked around the room. "Silence!" Taman yelled. "We have a crisis that threatens every world in this council." The hall slowly became quiet. Council Speaker Yoon-sik stood up from his seat at the center of the room. His reptile-like face showed confusion as his forked tongue flicked out to taste the air. The scaled alien was one of the oldest members of the council and had seen many wars, but nothing like this. "Ambassador Taemin," Yoon-sik said in his deep voice, "you called this emergency meeting. Tell us what has happened that could not wait for our regular session." Taemin activated the holographic display in the center of the hall. Images of destroyed spaceships appeared floating in the air. The ships were clearly alien technology, but they had been torn apart by weapons that left strange energy burns. 3 days ago, our patrol fleet in the Outer Rim was attacked. Taemin began. 12 of our best warships were destroyed in less than 1 hour. The attackers left no survivors and took no prisoners. Murmurs spread through the hall. Many representatives leaned forward in their seats. Attacks on council fleets were rare and usually meant war between major powers. "Who dared attack the Kelthari Empire?" asked Ambassador Do-hyun from his floating chair. The peaceful Altherian had never seen real combat, but even he understood that attacking a council fleet was an act of war. Taemin's expression became even more grim. "That is the problem. The attackers were human." The hall exploded into noise, again. Several representatives started laughing, thinking it was some kind of joke. Others looked confused and began talking to their advisors. The idea seemed impossible to most of them. "Humans?" Yoon-sik repeated slowly. "The primitive species from the third spiral arm? The ones who barely learned to travel faster than light 50 years ago?" "The same ones," Taemin confirmed. "But they are not as primitive as we thought." Captain Bora of the Viridian Defense Force stood up from her seat. The tall, thin alien had silver skin that reflected the lights in the chamber. She had been quiet during the shouting, but now her face showed serious concern. "Speaker Yoon-sik, I must confirm Ambassador Taemin's report," Bora said. 2 weeks ago, one of our science vessels was attacked near human space. We also lost contact with a trading fleet last month. At the time, we thought it was pirates or equipment failure." She activated her own holographic display. More images of destroyed ships appeared, showing the same strange weapon burns that had destroyed the Kelthari fleet. "The energy signatures are identical," Bora continued. "These attacks were all carried out by the same type of weapons we have never seen before." Ambassador Kwan Ho from the Crystalline Collective spoke up. His voice sounded like wind, chimes as he moved his crystal body. "This must be some mistake. Humans are barely more advanced than animals. Their ships use basic fusion drives and primitive computers. How could they destroy our fleets?" "That is what we thought too," Taemin replied. "But yesterday we intercepted a human transmission. They were not speaking like primitives." He played an audio recording for the council. A human voice spoke in perfect galactic standard, using military terms that most species did not learn until they had been in space for centuries. "Target acquired. Temporal displacement shields are active. Beginning quantum torpedo launch sequence. All units maintain dimensional phase lock." The hall became very quiet. Those words described technology that was far beyond what humans should possess. Temporal shields were theoretical for most species. Quantum torpedoes were weapons that only the most advanced civilizations could build. "There is more," Taemin continued. "Our intelligence teams have been studying human space more carefully. What we found will shock you." New images appeared in the holographic display. They showed star systems that appeared empty on normal scanners, but the enhanced images revealed massive space stations hidden in asteroid fields. Fleets of ships that seemed to bend light around them. Manufacturing facilities that stretched for thousands of kilometers through space. "Hidden bases," Bora whispered. stealth technology beyond our understanding. The humans have been lying to us, Taman said. For 50 years, they have pretended to be primitive while building the most advanced military force this galaxy has ever seen. Representative Jiwoo from the Merchant Guild spoke for the first time. The small, furry alien was known for being careful with money and resources. Why would they hide their technology? What do they gain by appearing weak? That is the question that terrifies me, Taman answered. Species that hide their true strength usually do so for one reason. They are planning to attack. The implications hit the Council like a physical blow. If humans had been secretly building advanced weapons while pretending to be primitive, they had been planning this for decades. They had studied every council, species, learned their weaknesses, and prepared counters for their defenses. How many ships do they have? Yoon-sik asked quietly. Unknown, Bora replied. Our scouts have identified at least 200 hidden facilities, but there could be thousands more. Their stealth technology makes accurate counts impossible. And their weapons? Beyond our current understanding. The energy readings suggest they can manipulate matter at the quantum level. Some of their ships seem to exist in multiple dimensions, at once. Ambassador Min-soo from the industrial world stood up slowly. The elderly alien had been in the council for over a century and had helped write many of the first contact protocols that governed meetings with new species. Honored colleagues, Min-soo said in a shaky voice. I believe we have made a terrible mistake. When we first met the humans, we assumed they were like all emerging species. We thought they would follow the same path of development as every other race. He paused and looked around the room. But what if they did not? What if they chose a different path? What if they studied us while we ignored them? The terrible truth was starting to become clear to everyone in the hall. The humans had not just hidden their technology. They had used their apparent weakness to learn everything about the galaxy's major powers. They knew council military tactics, economic systems, and political structures better than most council members knew themselves. What do we do? Do-hyun asked quietly. Before anyone could answer, alarms began blaring throughout the hall. Emergency messages flashed on every display screen. The words made every representative's blood run cold. Alert. Human fleets detected in 17 systems. All council forces are ordered to withdraw immediately. This is not a drill. The council chamber erupted into panic as representatives realized the truth. The humans were not just attacking random ships anymore. They were launching a coordinated assault against the most powerful civilizations in the galaxy, and no one knew how to stop them. Deep inside the Prometheus base hidden in the asteroid field of Wolf 359, Fleet Admiral Sung-ho stood before a massive holographic display showing the entire galaxy. Red dots marked every major alien fleet, blue lines traced their supply routes, and yellow indicators showed their military bases. The humans had been watching everything for 50 years. Admiral, the Viridian scout ship has left the Ross 248 system, reported Intelligence Director Yoon-ji from her station. They recorded everything we expected them to record. Sung-ho nodded slowly. Good. How long until their data reaches the council? Approximately 18 hours, replied Communications Officer Daeho. Our quantum listening posts are monitoring all their transmissions. And the Drakmari fleet at Kepler 442? General Wu Jin stepped forward. The veteran soldier had been planning this operation for 20 years. Third Fleet is in position for training exercises, just as their schedule predicted. They have no idea what is coming. Sung-ho smiled, but there was no happiness in it. Only the grim satisfaction of a plan finally coming together. Phase 1 was always about being discovered. We needed them to know we exist before Phase 2 could begin. Around the command center, hundreds of human officers worked at stations that displayed technology far beyond anything the aliens had seen. Holographic computers that processed information in 12 dimensions. Sensors that could detect thoughts across interstellar distances. Weapons that could rewrite the laws of physics in localized areas. Dr. So-young, head of the Advanced Sciences Division, approached the Admiral's platform. Sir, The temporal displacement generators are ready. We can begin field testing whenever you give the order. What about the quantum tunnel network? Fully operational. We can deploy our entire fleet to any point in the galaxy within 30 seconds. The aliens will need weeks to move their ships the same distances. Sung Ho looked around the room at his officers. Every person here had been born into a world that knew the truth about the galaxy. While alien species thought humans were primitive, newcomers, every human child learned from birth that they were surrounded by enemies who would destroy them if given the chance. Tell me about the alien fleets, Sung Ho said to his strategic planning team. Commander Young-Soo activated detailed displays showing enemy capabilities. The Drekmari have the strongest military, but they rely on overwhelming force rather than advanced tactics. Their ships are powerful but slow to maneuver. The Kelthari Empire has better technology but fewer ships. They depend on their energy, shields, and long-range weapons. Both systems have weaknesses we can exploit. The Viridians are the most dangerous because they think strategically, but they have never faced an enemy with our capabilities. Sung Ho had memorized these reports years ago, but hearing them again reminded him why this operation was necessary. Every major alien species had the same pattern. They would find weaker civilizations, study their defenses, then attack when victory was certain. It had happened dozens of times throughout galactic history. Admiral, Intelligence Director Yoon-ji called. We are receiving a priority transmission from Earth Command. The holographic display changed to show President Dongwu in his office, overlooking the Pacific Ocean. Behind him, the skyline of New Seoul stretched to the horizon, with flying vehicles moving between buildings that reached into the clouds. Admiral Sung Ho, the president said formally, the Global Defense Council has approved the final phase of Operation Guardian. You are authorized to proceed. Understood, Mr. President. What about the civilian populations? Evacuation of all outer colonies is complete. Every human settlement is protected by our defensive networks. Even if they discover Earth itself, they cannot harm our people. Sung Ho felt the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. For 50 years, humanity had prepared for this moment. Every human alive had grown up knowing that one day, their species would have to fight for the right to exist as equals in a galaxy dominated by predators. After the transmission ended, Dr. So Young approached with another report. Admiral, our xenopsychology teams have finished their analysis of alien behavior patterns. What did they conclude? Every major species follows the same pattern when dealing with newcomers. First, they ignore them. Then they study them. Finally, they decide whether to absorb them or destroy them. No species in recorded galactic history has ever been allowed to remain truly independent. And what about us? Based on their past behavior, the Council would have made their decision about humanity within the next 5 years. Our primitive disguise was beginning to wear thin anyway. That was the truth that every human leader understood. The charade could not last forever. Eventually, the aliens would have demanded that humanity submit to Council authority or face destruction. By striking first, humans could control when and how the revelation happened. Sir, Communications Officer Dae-ho reported, our deep space monitoring stations are detecting unusual activity throughout Council space. Multiple fleets are being recalled to home systems. They are scared, General Wu Jin said with satisfaction. The discovery of our Ross 248 facility has made them realize they do not understand us at all. Good, Sung Ho replied. Fear will make them act predictably. Show me the deployment schedules. New displays appeared showing the positions of human fleets throughout the galaxy. Ships that had been hiding in empty space for decades were now moving toward their assigned targets. The scale of the operation was staggering. Over 10,000 vessels, each equipped with technology that individual alien civilizations could not match. Admiral, we are ready to begin Phase 2, reported Fleet Captain Min Ho from the heavy cruiser Soul's Pride. All strike groups report ready status. Sung Ho looked one final time at the galaxy map. Red indicators showed where alien fleets waited, confident in their superiority. They had no idea that human ships were already in position around every major system. Dr. So Young, activate the quantum tunnel network. All units, begin deployment. Across, The galaxy space itself began to tear open as human ships emerged from folded dimensions. They appeared in systems where no ships should exist, using technology that made faster-than-light travel look primitive. Within minutes, every major alien base was under surveillance by vessels the defenders could not detect. Phase 2 has begun, Sung-Ho announced to his officers. Send the message to all council species. The transmission that followed would shake the foundations of galactic civilization. It was broadcast on every frequency, translated into every known language, and delivered simultaneously to every government in council space. To the species of the Galactic Council, Sung-Ho's voice carried across the stars. For 50 years, you have known us as primitive humans struggling to find our place among the stars. That image was a lie designed to protect us while we studied your civilizations. We have watched you destroy species that threatened your dominance. We have seen you reduce proud civilizations to servant states. We have recorded your plans to do the same to humanity when we became too advanced to ignore. We will not allow that to happen. As of today, the age of council dominance is over. We offer you a choice. Join us in building a galaxy where strength protects rather than conquers, or face the consequences of your past actions. You have 24 hours to decide. The transmission ended, leaving the galaxy in chaos. But aboard Prometheus Base, the real work was just beginning. Human ships were moving into final positions around every major alien world. Scientists were preparing weapons that could end civilizations. Diplomats were ready to negotiate with any species wise enough to accept the new reality. Admiral, Dr. So-Young asked quietly. What if they refuse? Sung-Ho looked at the display showing Earth, where billions of humans lived their lives in safety because of the decisions being made. In this room. Then we show them what happens when predators meet something stronger than themselves. The next 24 hours would determine whether the galaxy learned to live in peace or whether humanity would have to teach that lesson through force. Either way, the age of human hiding was over. The galaxy was about to discover that the most dangerous predator was one that looked like prey until it was too late to run. 3 days before the emergency council meeting, Scout Commander Jae-Won was having what he thought would be a normal day. His stealth frigate Silent Hunter drifted through empty space near the edge of human territory, running routine surveillance. As ordered by Viridian Command, Jae-Won had been watching human space for 2 years. It was boring work. The humans rarely did anything interesting. Their ships moved slowly between planets carrying basic trade goods and passengers. Their technology looked primitive compared to what most council species used centuries ago. Commander, his sensor operator Hyjin called from her station. I am getting some strange readings from the Ross 248 system. Jae-Won looked up from his daily reports. Ross 248 was supposed to be empty. The star had no planets worth colonizing and no resources worth mining. Most ships avoided the area because there was nothing there. What kind of readings? He asked. Energy. Signatures that do not match our database, Hyjin replied. Very faint, but definitely artificial. It is like something is trying to hide but not doing a perfect job. Jae-Won made a decision that would change everything. Instead of marking it in his report and moving on, he decided to investigate. Set. Course for Ross 248. Keep us in stealth mode and run passive scans only. The Silent Hunter moved toward the system using its advanced cloaking technology. Viridian stealth ships were some of the best in the galaxy, able to hide from almost any sensor system. As they got closer, the energy readings became stronger. Commander, you need to see this, Hyjin said with excitement in her voice. The main display showed what appeared to be empty space around a small red star, but when Hyjin switched to advanced sensors, the image changed completely. Massive structures appeared where there should have been nothing. Those are space stations, Science Officer Kiwoo said from his position. But they are using some kind of advanced stealth field. Our normal sensors cannot detect them at all. Jae-Won stared at the display in shock. The structures were huge, bigger than anything humans should be able to build. They looked like floating cities made of metal and energy, connected by streams of light that bent in impossible ways. How many stations are there? He asked. Kiwoo worked at his controls for several minutes. At least 50 major installations, maybe more. Some of them seem to exist in folded space that makes counting difficult. Folded space? Jaewon repeated. Humans do not have that technology. Apparently they do, Kiwoo replied grimly. As they watched, ships began moving between the hidden stations. These were not the slow, simple human vessels that Jaewon had been monitoring for years. These ships moved like liquid metal, changing shape as they flew. They appeared and disappeared without warning, jumping between points in space without using visible engines. Commander, Communications Officer So Young reported. I am picking up transmissions between those ships. They are using quantum encryption that I have never seen before. Can you decode it? I am trying, but this encryption is incredibly advanced. It will take time. Jaewon made another decision. Move us closer. I want detailed scans of everything we can see. The silent hunter crept closer to the hidden fleet. As they approached, more impossible things became visible. Some ships seemed to exist in multiple places at the same time. Others appeared to be made of pure energy instead of matter. Weapons that looked like crystallized starlight pointed in every direction. Commander, those weapons, Hyejin whispered. The energy readings are off our charts. A single shot from one of those could destroy a moon. But the most shocking discovery came when Kiwoo managed to scan one of the larger ships. Commander, I am reading life signs aboard that vessel. Definitely human, but the ship's technology is impossible. What do you mean impossible? According to my scans, parts of that ship exist in 11 dimensions. The humans appear to be using technology that manipulates the basic structure of reality itself. Jaewon felt cold fear spreading through his body. Every council species knew the theoretical limits of technology. There were certain things that even the most advanced civilizations could not do safely. Manipulating multiple dimensions was one of them. The risks were too great, the power requirements too massive. How long have they had this technology? He asked. Unknown, Kiwoo replied. But based on the construction techniques I can observe, these facilities have been here for at least 20 years, maybe longer. 20 years. The humans had been building this secret fleet while the council treated them as primitive newcomers. They had been developing weapons that surpassed anything in the galaxy, while pretending to struggle with basic spaceflight. Commander, So Young called urgently. I managed to decode part of their transmissions. You need to hear this. She played the intercepted message over the bridge speakers. A human voice spoke in perfect galactic standard, but the words made everyone go silent. Phase 2. Preparations are complete. All stealth networks report ready status. Target lists have been distributed to fleet commanders. Operation begins when the signal is given. Another voice responded. Confirmed. Kelthari patrol routes mapped. Viridian defense positions identified. Drakmari supply lines marked for interdiction. All major council species are accounted for. Jaewon's hands shook as he realized what he was hearing. This was not a defensive fleet. It was an invasion force that had been planning attacks against every major power in the galaxy. The humans knew where every council fleet would be, where their supply lines ran and how their defenses worked. So Young, keep recording everything, he ordered. Kiwoo, scan everything you can. We need proof of what we are seeing. For the next 6 hours, they documented the impossible. Manufacturing facilities that could build a starship in minutes, weapons that seemed to manipulate time itself, ships that could travel instantly across vast distances without using any known form of faster-than-light travel. But the most terrifying discovery came when they detected movement at the edge of the system. A human fleet was preparing to leave the hidden base. Not the small groups of primitive ships that Council intelligence expected, but a massive armada of advanced warships. Where are they going? Jaewon asked. Kiwoo checked the fleet's trajectory against star charts. His face went pale when he found the answer. They are heading for the Kepler 442 system. That is where the Drakmari 3rd Fleet is conducting training exercises. The Drakmari 3rd Fleet was one of the most powerful military forces in the galaxy. Over 300 warships with crews that had fought in dozens of battles. If the humans were planning to attack them, it meant they were confident enough to take on the Council's best warriors. Commander, we need to warn them, Hyejin said urgently. No, Jaewon replied after thinking for a moment. First, we need to get this information to Admiral Hyejin at Viridian Command. She needs to see the evidence before we do anything else. They began the long journey back to Viridian space, carrying proof that would shatter everything the galaxy thought it knew about humanity. As they traveled, Kaiwu continued analyzing the data they had collected. "Commander, I found something else. Disturbing," he reported after several hours. "Those stealth fields around the human bases. They are not just hiding the stations from our sensors. What else are they doing? They are listening. The fields are designed to intercept and record every transmission that passes through human space. Every council communication, every diplomatic message, every military order. The implications were staggering. For decades, the humans had been recording every secret the council species thought they were keeping. They knew about classified military projects, secret diplomatic negotiations, and hidden weaknesses that each species tried to hide from their enemies. "They know everything about us," J1 whispered, "and we know nothing about them." When they finally reached Viridian Command, Admiral Hyjin reviewed their data with growing alarm. The evidence was undeniable, but it raised questions that no one knew how to answer. "How many more hidden fleets do they have?" she asked after viewing the recordings. "Unknown," J1 replied. "This could be one of dozens of similar installations. And their actual technology level? Far beyond anything we understand. They appear to have solved scientific problems that our best researchers consider impossible." Admiral Hyjin made the hardest decision of her career. "Send this data to the Council immediately. Every species needs to know what we are facing." As the data was transmitted across the galaxy, one question haunted everyone who saw it. If humans had this level of technology and had been planning for decades, why were they attacking now? What had changed that made them abandon their disguise and reveal their true power? The answer to that question would be even more terrifying than the discovery itself. Fleet Commander Rathek of the Drakmari Collective had lived for 3 centuries and fought in dozens of wars. His massive warship Blood of Drakmari led a fleet of over 400 vessels toward human space, confident that sheer numbers would crush these upstart primitives once and for all. "Pitiful creatures," Rathek growled to his bridge crew, his scaled hide rippling with contempt. "They think their few hidden bases can stand against the might of the Drakmari fleet. We will show them the price of challenging their betters." His tactical officer, a younger Drakmari named Veltar, studied the sensor displays with growing concern. "Commander, our scouts report no human activity in the Kepler 442 system. The area appears completely empty." "Of course it does." Rathek laughed, his voice like grinding stone. "They are hiding like the cowards they are. But no stealth technology can hide from Drakmari sensors when we know where to look." The Drakmari fleet approached the system in perfect formation. Massive dreadnoughts led the way, their dark hulls bristling with plasma cannons and missile tubes. Behind them came cruisers and destroyers, all painted in the red and black colors of their warrior culture. Rathek had studied the reports from the Viridian scout ship. The humans had some advanced technology, but nothing that 400 warships could not handle. This would be a glorious victory that would cement his reputation as the greatest fleet commander in Drakmari history. "All ships, prepare for combat," he ordered. "Deploy an attack formation beta. When we find the human fleet, I want them destroyed in the first assault." 20 light minutes away, Captain Minho of the stealth destroyer Shadow of Soul watched the alien fleet approach through quantum sensors that could observe events across multiple dimensions. The Drakmari ships looked impressive on normal sensors, but humans could see weaknesses that the aliens did not even know existed. "All units, this is actual," Minho transmitted on encrypted quantum channels that existed outside normal space-time. "Enemy fleet has entered the kill zone. Execute protocol, 7 on my mark." Around the Kepler 442 system, ships that had been invisible suddenly began to move. They did not decloak or power up weapons like normal vessels. Instead, they simply stepped sideways through dimensions that most species did not know existed. The human fleet materialized around the Drakmari formation like ghosts becoming solid. But these were not the primitive ships that Council intelligence expected. They were sleek vessels that seemed to be made of crystallized starlight, with hulls that bent space around them and weapons that harvested energy from dying stars. What in the void? Veltar gasped as his sensors suddenly detected over 1,000 human ships surrounding the Drakmari fleet. Where did they come from? Rathek stared at the tactical display in shock. The humans had not been hiding in the system. They had been hiding in folded space that his sensors could not detect. Worse, their ships were doing things that should have been impossible. Some human vessels appeared to exist in multiple locations at the same time. Others seemed to phase in and out of reality itself. The largest ships looked like they were swimming through space instead of flying, moving in ways that violated every law of physics Rathek understood. All ships, open fire, Rathek roared. Destroy them before they can use whatever weapons they have. The Drakmari fleet unleashed a barrage that could have destroyed entire planets. Thousands of plasma bolts and quantum missiles raced toward the human ships, carrying enough destructive power to crack moons. The human response was unlike anything any Drakmari had ever seen. Time itself seemed to slow around the human fleet. The alien weapons began moving in slow motion, crawling through space like insects trapped in amber. Meanwhile, human return fire moved at normal speed, striking Drakmari shields with weapons that ignored the laws of physics. Temporal displacement fields, whispered Science Officer Hyunwoo aboard the human flagship Incheon's Fury. The aliens are experiencing time at 1/10 normal speed while we move normally. Fleet Admiral Young-soo watched calmly as Drakmari ships tried desperately to maneuver against weapons they could barely see coming. Begin boarding operations. We need their command codes and fleet coordination protocols. What followed was not a battle in any traditional sense. It was a demonstration of technology so advanced that the aliens could not even understand what was happening to them. Human marines in powered armor that existed partially outside normal reality teleported directly onto Drakmari bridge sections. The marines moved through normal time while the alien crews were trapped in temporal distortion. To the Drakmari, the humans appeared to move faster than thought itself. Weapons fired in slow motion while human soldiers walked calmly between the shots, disabling alien crew members who could not even see them coming. On the Bridge of Blood of Drakmari, Rathek watched in horror as human soldiers simply appeared around him. His hand moved toward his sidearm with agonizing slowness, while the human leader stepped forward and placed a device on the command console. "Fleet Commander Rathek," the human said in perfect Drakmari language. "I am Colonel Ji-hoon of the Terran Marine Corps. Your fleet is now under human control." Rathek tried to speak, but words came out so slowly that they were meaningless. The temporal field made normal communication impossible, but the humans had technology that compensated for the time differential. "Your crews are unharmed," Colonel Ji-hoon continued. "The temporal fields will be removed once your ships are secured. You will then be given the opportunity to hear our terms." Across the Drakmari fleet, the same scene was repeated on hundreds of ships. Human boarding parties had taken control of every vessel in the formation without firing a single shot that caused permanent damage. Advanced alien warriors found themselves prisoners aboard their own ships, unable to comprehend weapons that manipulated time itself. "Admiral Young-soo to all human units." The fleet commander's voice carried across quantum channels. "Drakmari fleet is secured. Total elapsed time, 37 minutes. Human casualties, 0. The temporal fields slowly faded, allowing normal time to resume throughout the Drakmari fleet. Alien crew members found themselves face to face with human soldiers who had accomplished the impossible. The most powerful military force in Drakmari history had been neutralized without a single human casualty. Rathek finally found his voice. "What are you?" he demanded, his warrior pride shattered by the realization that he had been defeated by enemies he could not even fight. "We are what your species will become if you learn to cooperate instead of conquer," Colonel Ji-hoon replied. "Your ships and crews will be returned to you unharmed. But first you will deliver a message to the Drakmari High Command." The holographic projector on the bridge activated, showing Admiral Young-soo's image. The human commander looked directly at Rathek with eyes that held no malice, only certainty. "Fleet Commander Rathek, your people have a choice to make. You can continue following the old ways of conquest and domination, or you can join us in building something better." This demonstration was not an attack. It was an invitation. We have the power to destroy every Drakmari world within hours. But we would rather work with you to protect weaker species from the chaos that is coming. The old council system is ending whether you accept it or not. The question is whether your people will help build what comes next. Rathek looked around his bridge at human soldiers who carried weapons that seemed to be made of captured lightning. His ship's computers were displaying readouts that made no sense, showing technology levels that should not have been possible for any species in the galaxy. "How long have you been watching us?" he asked quietly. 50 years, Admiral Youngsu replied. "We know your military doctrine, your supply lines, your defensive strategies, and your political structure better than most Drakmari do. We also know that your people are warriors by choice, not by nature. You can choose to fight for protection instead of conquest. And if we refuse," Youngsu's expression remained calm, "then you will discover that there are fates worse than death for a warrior culture. We can remove your ability to fight without killing a single Drakmari. Your choice is between honorable cooperation and irrelevant isolation." The transmission ended, leaving Rathek alone with his thoughts and the undeniable evidence of human superiority. Around him, his crew members stared at weapons that violated everything they understood about technology and warfare. "Commander," Veltar asked quietly, "what do we do?" Rathek looked at the tactical display showing his fleet surrounded by human ships that could destroy them at will. The humans had demonstrated mercy when they could have shown none. They had offered partnership when they could have demanded surrender. For the first time in his long military career, Rathek began to think that there might be something better than endless warfare. "Signal the human fleet," he said finally. "Tell them Fleet Commander Rathek requests a formal meeting to discuss terms." The age of Drakmari conquest was over. The age of learning from stronger teachers had begun. The emergency session of the Galactic Council had been going on for 6 hours. Representatives from dozens of worlds sat in stunned silence as reports came in from across the galaxy. Human fleets had appeared in every major system, demonstrating technology that made their most advanced science look primitive. Speaker Yun-Sik's scaled hands shook as he read the latest transmission from the Drakmari fleet. Fleet Commander Rathek reports that his entire armada was neutralized in 37 minutes without a single human casualty. The technology they used, it manipulates time itself. Ambassador Taman slumped in his chair, his forearms hanging limp at his sides. "My government is demanding answers I cannot give. How do we fight an enemy that can control time? How do we negotiate with a species that has been lying to us for 50 years? Perhaps we should listen to what they have to say," suggested Ambassador Do-hyun from his floating chair. The peaceful Altherian had been advocating for diplomatic contact since the crisis began. "They could have destroyed our fleets, but they chose not to. That suggests they want something other than our destruction." Before anyone could respond, every display screen in the council chamber activated simultaneously. The image that appeared was of a human female in what appeared to be a diplomatic uniform. Behind her, through a large window, the Earth could be seen spinning slowly in space. "Honored members of the Galactic Council," the human said in perfect galactic standard, "I am Ambassador Hei-Wan, representing the Terran Federation. I believe it is time we had an honest conversation." The council chamber fell completely silent. This was the first official communication from humanity since the crisis began, and everyone knew that what they heard next would determine the future of galactic civilization. "For 50 years you have known us as a primitive species, struggling to find our place among the stars. That image was carefully constructed to protect us while we studied your civilizations and prepared for this moment." Ambassador Hei-Wan gestured, and new images appeared on the displays. They showed the true extent of human civilization. Massive space cities that stretched across entire star systems, manufacturing facilities that could build planets, fleets of ships that numbered in the hundreds of thousands. This is what humanity has built while you believed we were barely capable of interstellar travel. We have colonies in over 3,000 systems, space habitats that house billions of people, and technology that your greatest scientists would consider impossible. Representative Quan Ho's crystal body rang like wind chimes as he shifted in disbelief. "Why hide this from us? What purpose did deception serve?" "Because we studied you," Haywan replied. All of you. We learned what happens to species that catch your attention too early. New images appeared, showing the historical records that humanity had compiled over decades of careful observation. The fate of dozens of civilizations that had been absorbed, conquered, or destroyed by the major council powers. The Zephyrian Republic, reduced to a client state when they developed advanced computing. The Mollusk Confederacy, their homeworlds, strip-mined for rare elements after they invented new propulsion systems. The Ethereal Collective, their population scattered as indentured servants after they created artificial intelligence. Each image showed the same pattern. A species would develop technology that caught council attention, be invited to join galactic civilization, and then find themselves either subjugated or destroyed when they proved unwilling to accept subordinate status. We realized that no species in recorded galactic history has ever been allowed to remain truly independent after joining the council. Haywan continued. Every civilization eventually faces the same choice. Submit to council authority, or be eliminated as a threat. Dr. Changmin appeared beside Ambassador Haywan via holographic projection. The elderly human scientist activated displays that showed technology beyond anything the council had imagined possible. While you watched our primitive space programs, we were solving the fundamental problems of existence itself, Dr. Changmin explained. Matter-energy conversion on a stellar scale, artificial intelligence that exists in 11 dimensions, weapons that can rewrite the basic constants of physics in localized areas. The demonstrations that followed shattered every assumption the galaxy held about the limits of technology. Humans showed ships that could exist in multiple universes simultaneously, manufacturing processes that converted pure energy into complex matter, and computational systems that could predict the future with mathematical certainty. But the most important discovery we made was not technological, Haywan said as the displays changed again. It was psychological. We studied every major species in the galaxy and found the same pattern of behavior, predators disguised as civilizers. You find weaker species, study their capabilities, and then decide whether to absorb them or destroy them. You have created a galaxy where strength means the right to dominate, and weakness means inevitable subjugation. We refuse to accept that system. The words hung in the air like a challenge. For the first time in galactic history, a species was not asking to join the council or begging for protection. They were rejecting the fundamental principles that had governed civilization for millennia. What do you want from us? Speaker Yunsik asked finally. We want you to choose, Haywan replied. You can continue following the old patterns of conquest and domination, competing against each other for the right to rule over weaker species. Or you can join us in building something better. We call it the Cooperative Commonwealth, a federation where species contribute based on their capabilities rather than their ability to threaten others, where strength is used to protect rather than conquer, where every civilization can develop to its full potential without fear of predation. Ambassador Min-Su from the industrial worlds raised a shaking hand. And if we refuse? If we choose to maintain the current system? Dr. Changmin answered with scientific precision. Then you will discover that the current system only works when you are the strongest force in the galaxy. We have spent 50 years developing countermeasures for every weapon, every tactic, and every strategy you possess. We can neutralize your fleets without destroying them. We can isolate your worlds without invading them. We can remove your ability to threaten others without causing mass casualties. The choice is between cooperation and irrelevance. The implications were clear. Humanity had not just developed superior technology. They had developed the power to enforce their vision of galactic civilization, whether the existing powers agreed or not. How do we know you will not become the same predators you claim to oppose? Asked Representative Ji Wu from the Merchant Guild. Because we have already had that power for decades and chosen not to use it, Haywan replied. We could have conquered the galaxy 20 years ago if that was our goal. Instead, we chose to study you, understand you, and prepare a better alternative. We are not offering to replace the Council's tyranny with our own. We are offering to end tyranny itself by making it impossible for any species to dominate others. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. The humans were not just challenging the existing order. They were offering to create a new type of civilization where the strong protected the weak instead of exploiting them. You mentioned chaos, Speaker Yunsik said quietly. What did you mean? The council system is ending whether you accept our offer or not, Haiwan explained. Smaller species throughout the galaxy have learned about our technology. They are beginning to demand independence from their council patrons. The old system of domination is collapsing. You can be part of building something better, or you can fight a war you cannot win against an enemy that understands you better than you understand yourselves. How long do we have to decide? Ambassador Taemin asked. The Commonwealth will be established with or without your participation, Dr. Changmin replied. However, we would prefer to have your experience and knowledge as partners, rather than having to work around your opposition. 72 hours, Haiwan said finally. After that, we begin implementing the new system. Species that choose cooperation will be welcomed as founding members. Those that choose conflict will discover why predators should fear becoming prey. The transmission ended, leaving the council chamber in stunned silence. Representatives looked at each other with the growing realization that their entire understanding of the galaxy had been wrong. Humanity had not just developed superior technology. They had developed a superior understanding of what civilization could become. The question was whether the galaxy's existing powers were wise enough to learn from teachers who had been disguised as students. The age of the Galactic Council was over. The age of the Cooperative Commonwealth was about to begin.